understand? Saturday, it's a Saturday. Welcome back to another episode of You Up Radio. It's your host, Be Free. And we're going to be checking in with the crew because we got a lot to talk about today. So let me start. See if the lady of the house is in the building. Dr. Naisha Douglas, are you up?
I am up. Good morning to the crew. Good morning to JC. Good afternoon, everybody else.
Yeah. East Coast. Brother William McKee, are you on the set? You up, brother?
Hey, East Coast, West Coast, worldwide. I'm up like Nike stock, Nike apparel, and Nike commercials.
We gonna get into that. Let me check on the super producer, brother D. You in the building? You up?
We up, baby. Let's roll.
Let's roll. Last but not least, the West Coast media guru, our very own brother JC. In the building. You up?
Not only up, I'm straight up. Let's go.
Straight up. We're to talk about. So we're gonna start the first part of this show, and we gonna eat. So, Dr. Douglas, you up? Let's eat.
Well, good morning, everybody. The first section of the show is brought to you by Eat. We want you to educate your mind, activate your purpose, and transform your life. This is part of the show where we learn more about ourselves and the world around us. The purpose is not to tell you how to act, but to inform you how to think. So the message today is about being sensitive to issues that plague our society and continue to be a topic of discussion. Most recently, I witnessed something disturbing on live TV last Friday, in which I watched a homecoming celebration of Aretha Franklin. I was both sad and excited about the ceremony. Those of you who have watched the ceremony, I call it a workday ceremony because it lasted a whole workday, 7 to 8 hours. The funeral featured some of like the world's most gifted singers at the request of the Queen of Soul herself. One guest in particular was Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande is known for belting out tunes that could probably rival Mariah Carey and Celine Dion, but don't tell Mariah Carey that. But after her rendition of Natural Woman, she was greeted with applause and also something else. The Bishop Charles Ellis, who was the presiding pastor over the funeral, he hugged Ariana in that some would deem like an inappropriate way. The way he grabbed her side, and it looked like he was touching her breast. I mean, it was all over social media, and everybody had something to say about it. And then pretty much after the incident, there were people joking about the way he touched her, how he touched her, and how inappropriate it was. So there were some jokes, and then there were some people who were serious. I was one of those people who didn't find that funny because, you know, as women, we're often put in positions where we're uncomfortable when it comes to sexual misconduct or sexual harassment. And for me, I didn't find any of the jokes funny. And even when we had our production meeting and we were talking about the incident, some took it as a joke. They some of us brought up memes that were funny, but to my point, I didn't think it was funny. And being the only female voice on here, I kind of felt like that we take these incidents out of context and we think it's funny. Some of us think it's funny, and so I want to pose a question to the group. You know, it being all males. You know, why do you think society still looks at harassment and even Bill Clinton? Like, we all know what happened with Bill Clinton and his impeachment with Monica Lewinsky. But I want you guys to like speak on, do you think that we'll ever get to a point where we take these allegations and take the incidents seriously when it comes to women? And I want JC to kind of chime on it first to see what his opinion is. So JC, you up? What do you think about this?
Well, to answer the question head on, my response would be no. I don't think that we'll ever get a place where we'll take it as seriously as it needs to be. You can look at a bevy of topics that plague our society, and there's still some things that we joke at inappropriately. And I actually think, as I thought about it, I think it actually taps into us as children when we're younger and we start dealing with topics that make us feel uncomfortable or that we're not knowledgeable about or we can't relate to. We instinctively go to jokes, you know. And I think that's just a tell of who we are. I think that, but however, once we're aware of it, that hey, there are certain topics that can be sensitive to other people as they should be. We have a different accountability. So I think we can make ourselves be more accountable, but I don't think it'll ever go away.
I definitely feel like you're right. We should make ourselves more accountable. I want to get somebody else's opinion. William, you up? What do you think? Do you think our society will ever get to a point where we take these type of allegations seriously and we don't joke about it and it's not a meme that's plastered all over the internet? What do you think? You up?
I think coming from a world that's been dominated by men, and where if you look at women making 70 cents on a male dollar, on down the line, all the way to biblical times, is very difficult to eradicate chauvinism, hypermasculinity, all of these things. So as far as eliminating, it's almost like saying, will hate ever be eliminated? Or will envy ever be eliminated? These are staple flaws in the human construct. But I do think that it's the obligation and the duty of all people of good conscience and people that want right in the world to speak out against it, to stand firmly, unequivocally against it. And more important than even speaking against it is how we act. There are things that are said in many spaces and in many places that are inappropriate. Sometimes it's a Freudian slip sometimes, but even more important than what we say, as they used to say, what you do is so loud, I can't even hear what you're saying. So the important thing is that we not be chauvinists, that we not be oppressors in this way.
Let me jump in. Can I jump in, Doc?
Go ahead.
Well, let me say this, and I'm gonna come from a different point of view, but and it kind of goes along with what the point Brother JC made with comfort. And I think when you look at life in general, things get hard, and I think one of the highest frequencies to overcome things sometimes is laughter. We've been in situations, and sometimes we have to find the humor in it. I don't think it's so much as people not taking certain things serious, because I look at the avenue where we get these things from. They're usually coming from media platforms when we hear this. And the people that are usually delivering these things are entertainers, some comedians. And I don't want to, for instance, say that somebody's not taking it serious, whether they're just entertaining. And I look at it, take like a Dave Chappelle. Now, we don't ever condone when the R. Kelly stuff came out. But Dave Chappelle came out.
Speak for yourself.
I'm saying we don't ever condone what R. Kelly did. But when Dave Chappelle came out, 75% of people were laughing, talking about that stuff. But I don't, it's kind of hard to say that Dave wouldn't do something to support groups or anything. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I think you have to find the medium between entertainment versus who's really doing the work. You see what I'm saying? Because there were several, I say radio show hosts that might have made jokes, but that's not to say they don't take it. They're entertainers. Do I think it's insensitive? Yeah, a lot of times.
But to that point, from the media standpoint, all we're going to do is we're going to reflect what the audience is telling us that they want to hear. If the same amount of people sat there and saying that we're not going to listen to the Breakfast Club, or we're not going to listen to that comedy special, then you best believe that we pivot and we wouldn't provide that type of situation. So I think that it goes both ways. We're only going to emulate what the audience says that what they want from us.
And I just kind of feel like, we can deviate from what's been happening for the past couple of years. Most of everybody on here has a daughter who you have to have these conversations with them. You have to have these conversations with them when it comes to sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, because in your eyes, you're the father, you want to protect your child, right? Everybody on this panel agrees, right? Everybody on this call agrees.
And to that point now, just to make a point to that point, if that was my daughter, we'd be going to Pastor Charles Ellis' funeral today. So,
but see that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
See, but that's okay. So that's the point that I'm making. Like if you put your daughter in Ariana Grande's shoes, then your reaction is different. So you wouldn't be. So if you see a meme about your daughter and this bishop, and it's a joke or whatever, that's something you would not laugh at. It's interesting when you put yourself in that situation. It's not funny then, but when somebody else is in that situation, you want to laugh. You want to kiki about it. Yeah. That's the only thing that I'm saying. Like we have to be responsible as citizens, as fathers, as mothers, as daughters, as aunts, uncles, nieces, whatever. We have to be responsible and look at every situation as if it was my child, or if it was my niece, or if it was somebody that I'm close to. Would I participate in the extra humor of somebody being hurt, or somebody being touched or harassed inappropriately? Would I still have that same joking spirit, or would I have that same laughter? Because
let me ask
go
this.
ahead.
Let me ask this stuff. And that's totally true. And that is obviously an issue that needs to be tackled. But do you think sometimes we kind of choose those things we want to be offended by? Because I've seen some memes on just in different aspects that might deal with race, not sexual harassment or whatever. Like, do you feel like sometimes people choose like certain things to be more sensitive or conscious over than others in that regard? Go ahead. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think yes and no. I know for me, because I know when we had the meeting, and everybody, people, some people were bringing up, the memes or whatever. Like for me, just because I've been in that situation before, there's certain things I gotta say. There's certain things that I choose to highlight, and most of the things are mostly about women and children and Black people. And so, I'm a sensitive, because if it's something that could happen to me, then yeah, I'm more sensitive to it. It's something that I know that can happen, and most of the stuff that goes on in the world, it can happen to me, being a Black woman in this society. So
no doubt. McKee, you got any other thoughts? Or Brother Pope, McKee, talk.
I just quickly reiterate what I said earlier. We've lived in centuries of male-dominated reality and spaces, so we have to be vigilant for equity, equality, and sensibilities and sensitivities. And everybody on this show, I know them, stand-up people that fight for the equity of everybody. So let me say that too. So so big ups to this show for covering this and having the courage to tackle it.
No doubt. Brother Polk, any last thoughts?
No, I think it was well stated. I think it is the courage. I think the headlines are accountability, and I'd say that a lot of what we talked about is not